3, 2, 1. Hi guys, I'm Reed, this is Crowland, and today we are doing a video on how to make D&D more of a narrative game. Now, a little bit of background. In the 1990s, there was a tidal shift in role-playing game culture. D&D had become watching your dad dance. It was an old man's game. It was really, really old-fashioned, and we had moved on to other things. We'd moved on to Ars Magica and Vampire and Over the Edge and the classic Immortal, the Invisible War, and all that sort of stuff. And there was really a tidal shift in what you wanted out of games. We thought the games could become art. We took it very, very seriously, and narrative became everything. It became really, really important to make important artistic games that you really, really connected with on a personal level. Now, as time rolled around, especially when 3rd edition and 5th edition came out, it had become pretty clear that games themselves can be anything that you like. And in fact, the culture clash between the story games, as they were sort of dismissed, and the boring old man combat dungeon delve games didn't really exist. You know, a game can be more than one thing at the same time. Sometimes your D&D games can be really, really narrative and intense and story focused, and sometimes your vampire games can be, I drain him for 10 blood points, now I cast Celerity 3. It's all about you putting the effort in to making your game either narrative or combat focused or exploration or whatever you want to do. Rules matter, but not as much as people think. So today I'm going to talk about a few tips that I personally have if you want to make your D&D games a bit more narratively focused, a bit more personal, and a bit more role-playing heavy, and just some house rules and techniques and ideas that I have that I've used over the years to bring people into D&D a bit more on my side of things, a bit more on the narrative side of things, that embraces me as a player and engages me as a DM. I don't use all these at once. I don't always necessarily use them. They're just some techniques and tools I've got. Maybe you can find them useful. So before we get too far into it, let me just say that giving your players a reason to feel personally gratified by and involved with the game narrative, how it affects them and how they affect it, if they can feel really, really close to that, you will have a strong narrative RPG. You'll have an RPG that people want to role play in, not just fight monsters in. So here's some techniques, as I said. First of all, I don't use 3 to 18. I use -3 to +3. I think that it just gives players an immediate understanding of what they're good at. If you say +3 is very good, +2 is good, +1 is good, +0 is average, -1 bad, you know, things like that, they can just look down at the character sheet. Oh, I'm good at that, especially for new players. It is actually surprisingly controversial. A lot of players will look at it and go, well, I don't feel like I'm playing D&D unless I see 15, 16, that sort of stuff, so whatever. Don't have to use it. I always use point-buy systems. So much so that even the saving throws sometimes can be a point-buy system. Say that you are playing a monk, and you want that monk to be iron-willed. Absolutely nothing can ever cloud the thunder perfect mind that they have, so that they can buy a really, really large will save. Or you've got a fighter who's just, I'm entirely made of beef, I never, ever, ever want to save a con save, so they spend some points on their constitution save rather than just their con. It's useful to me, and I think that anything that connects your player to their character really, really helps with the narrative game. Action points, drama points, fate points, anything that gives the characters a certain ability to affect the game narrative itself. Be that, well, I spend my drama point, which means that I get a +5, or I spend my drama point, which means that they get a -5, Or I then also use something similar to how the fate points work. Fate is a RPG that's probably the most famous of the story games that are specifically about controlling narrative. What a fate point does is it actually allows you to change a fact, a true fact within the game narrative. So, say that you go as a DM, okay, you chase off the bandits, but they make it back to their horses and they escape. The player doesn't want that. The player goes, okay, well, I spend my fate point. Guess what? They missed one of the horses. I jump on and I chase after them. You can negotiate that as a DM if you like, but it's always been useful to me. And I think that, again, knowing that there is an ability to engage with a narrative outside of the DM can really, really engage players. They can really feel that they are a lot more invested in and have stakes in the world. The White Lord brings down his mace to destroy you. Ah, you take 20 damage. You're dead. No. I spend my fate point. I bring up my broken sword. I hold the white off. You haven't killed me yet. Ah, nice dramatic thing. Cool. So the player again feels that not only do they have the mechanical advantage of the fate point, but they feel that they can control the narrative regarding their PC with the fate point. So drama cards, drama dice, plot point systems, Cortex, Fate, Torg, 7th Sea. Loads of games use these kind of techniques. Have a look at them, have a think about them. You can adapt any of them for D&D. I do it all the time. Another technique that I use that's related is that I will let players have like a keyword next to a stat, or maybe even next to their class. It's just something that helps them narrow down what they actually are, that really connects them. So you might say, okay, well, you've got a +2 in strength, so write down a keyword. So say that's violent aggression. So once a session, or if they use a drama dice or whatever, you can sort it all out yourself. They can say, okay, well, I'm in a combat, I've got the violent aggression, I want an advantage on that roll. Okay, next to your intelligence stat, you might say history expert. You need to figure out the ancient language of the goblin people. Well, I'm an ancient history scholar, so can I have an advantage on that roll? Wisdom. I can see very easily into the hearts of people and understand their motivations. Can I have an advantage? I have sharp senses, another wisdom thing. Can I have an advantage to understand if I'm getting snuck up on? I understand that's, yeah. I find that this is useful, and all it is an advantage on a roll. It's not a game-breaking thing, but it lets the players feel that they can really narrow down all these, thousands and thousands of options that they've got on a player character sheet, and they can make them their own. I also like to use factions in the game. I think that this is actually a really, really useful DM tool for world building, for cheap world building. There are some situations that player characters are going to come into over and over and over and over again. They're always going to need weapons, they're always going to need healing, they're always going to need magical expertise, they're probably going to need help with the local law, they're probably going to need help with the local politics, they're probably going to need help with the local religion. So you make those things into factions and you give them ranks with them. So say that you want to have a faction that's about building weapons and making weapons. So that could be the Brotherhood of Steel in a post-apocalyptic game, where it's just a bunch of crazy tattooed dwarves who are like, hammering stuff out. Or perhaps it's the Royal Society for Engineering in a steampunk game. It doesn't matter. It's just flavored for your game, but nevertheless it provides the same sort of services. This is where you go if you want armor repair. This is where you go if you want to buy a magical weapon. That allows some of the third and the fourth ed, what do they call it, magical economy stuff to come back into the game if you like. And it gives you just a useful source of plots, a useful source of sort of busy work that the PCs can do. They know it will be much quicker, much easier, and much cheaper if they do well with the faction. So they're going to want to make friends with the faction. They're going to want to sort out alliances with the faction. Let them go murder hobo the faction, and then the faction is gone, and we'll never help them. And it's the same for any sort of recurring motif that's within a D&D game. So to say that you need spells, you make friends with the Inverted Lodge, you make friends with the Wild Shamans, you make friends with the Dragon comrades. And they can teach you spells, they can decurse things for you, all the rest of it. And you give people based on their class, say a +1 automatically, which means that they're known, they can enter into the guild halls or things like that. +5, they're respected and trusted, and they get pretty big discounts. So again, a very, very simple thing. You just literally just write it in the character sheet. Factions, which factions they're skilled with, which factions they're fond of, which factions are fond of them, that they have influence with. Maybe make up a character or two that they know, an NPC. So if you are a cleric and you want to get in good with the Temple of the Dragon God, you just say, well, my master is good with the Temple of the Dragon God. Let's go visit him because he can help us understand this ancient lost artifact of the elven folk or whatever. So it's very, very simple. It doesn't actually require very much work on your behalf as a DM, and it can pay off because it gives players, again, this recurring motif, reason to engage with the world and reason to engage with NPCs, and that is a good narrative. Then there's alignment. I haven't succeeded as well as I'd like to with this, but here's a technique I've experimented with to greater or lesser extent. Next to alignment, I give them just a little key phrase or word that goes with it. True neutral. Who am I to judge? Lawful good. Be organized. Be benevolent. Keep it together. Chaotic neutral. Survive at all costs. Chaotic evil. Life is a sick joke. So during situations where those kinds of character traits come up, again, you might give them an opportunity for an advantage. Say that you are surrounded on all sides. It looks like the PCs are going to die. This could be the end. It's very well, you're in a TPK situation. The chaotic neutral dude says, I'm going to survive no matter the cost. Look, I've written it on my character sheet. That's, my entire thing. So you might give them an advantage in certain situations that comes to that. Maybe it's during a fight. Maybe it's during a persuade check. Maybe it's during a hide check. No. I'm completely motivated by staying alive. Please give me an advantage. Say that you are neutral good, help people always, and you are doing a check for medicine, for healing or something. Could I please have an advantage? Live, damn you, live! That could be a part of their alignment, which really, really brings out character traits within the PC. Experiment, let me know how it goes. And the last thing that I do is that I really try during character creation to give them a reason to stick together. You're all escaped convicts together. You're all on the same boat together. You're all in the same army unit. You all grew up together in the same town. You all work for the same adventuring company. You all work for the same mercenary company. It doesn't have to be something that formal, but connecting characters to each other really, really works out. If you've got two mates who are particularly close, okay, well, you two guys are brothers. If you've got a couple who are playing together, you might say, do you want to play a couple? Do you want to play childhood friends? Do you want to play rivals who have joined the same adventuring company to compete with each other? So taking some time again, and I've said this in other videos, taking time to work with your PCs and to work with your characters to give everybody motivations to care about the other PCs at the table. And as well, you will find that this brings in NPCs as well. If you've got siblings or a family, there's going to be a mum and a dad probably. There's going to be an older brother. If you all belong to the same military unit, you've got a sarge, you've got the captain. Connections with NPCs really, really helps. So that's not an exhaustive list, but I think that is a few techniques that if you were looking to really, really encourage role-playing within your characters and within your players, have a think about them. What do you do? How do you do it? How do you encourage role-playing, specifically in D&D and more action-focused RPGs? Love to hear from you. Comments down below. Like and share and subscribe. That is the way. I'm Reed. This is Crowland. Thank you.